I never thought the happiest day of my life would end with me standing barefoot in my living room, staring at an empty garment bag where my wedding dress used to hang, the silk still carrying the faint scent of the lavender sachets I'd tucked inside only weeks earlier. Hi, I'm Elena, 29 years old, graphic designer by day, hopeless romantic by night. Or at least I used to be. This is the story I never wanted to tell, but maybe someone out there needs to hear it. Maybe you're watching right now with your own heart quietly breaking, wondering how the people who were supposed to love you most could rewrite your entire future without even blinking. If that's you, breathe with me for a second, because I was exactly where you are, and I survived it. Let me take you back to the beginning, to the version of my life that still felt like a fairy tale I'd written myself. 4 years ago, I was 25, fresh out of a string of disappointing dates, and honestly starting to wonder if the one was just something they put in movies to sell tickets. I worked at a small boutique design firm downtown, creating logos and brand identities for local cafes and bookstores. I loved it. I loved the way a single perfect font could make someone feel seen. My apartment was a tiny one-bedroom filled with houseplants I named after literary heroines, Jane, Elizabeth. Scout, and shelves of books I kept rereading because they always promised a happy ending. That particular Saturday, I was in my favorite little independent bookstore cafe, the one with the mismatched mugs and the smell of fresh espresso mixed with old paper. I was reaching for a worn copy of Pride and Prejudice, my comfort read for the 100th time when another hand brushed mine. Warm fingers, a soft laugh. "Oh, sorry," he said, pulling back with an easy smile. "Great minds, apparently." I looked up and there he was, Marcus. Tall, dark hair that fell just a little too perfectly across his forehead, warm brown eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled. He was wearing a simple gray sweater and jeans, holding a coffee that smelled like vanilla. We both laughed, the kind of awkward but warm laugh that happens when two strangers suddenly feel like they've known each other for years. We ended up sharing a table because the cafe was packed. He told me he was a junior associate at a law firm across the street, specializing in intellectual property, basically protecting people's creative ideas, he explained with a wink. I told him about my design work and how I once spent 3 weeks perfecting a logo for a bakery that only sold lavender macarons. He listened like every word mattered. When I mentioned my love for classic literature, his eyes lit up. "Elizabeth Bennet is my favorite too," he said. "She never settles. I like that in a person." We talked for 2 hours. The barista had to politely remind us the cafe was closing. Marcus walked me to my car, hands in his pockets, and asked for my number like it was the most natural thing in the world. That was the first day, the first of so many perfect days. Our second date was a picnic in the park at sunset. He brought homemade sandwiches, turkey and cranberry on sourdough because I'd mentioned it was my favorite once, and a bottle of sparkling cider. We sat on a plaid blanket while the sky turned pink and gold, and he asked me questions no one had ever asked before. "What's the one thing you're most afraid of?" "Losing the people I love." "What's the dream you're scared to say out loud?" "Opening my own design studio one day and calling it Forget-Me-Not Designs, because those little blue flowers mean true love and remembrance." He remembered everything. The next week he showed up at my office with a single forget-me-not in a tiny glass vase. "For your desk," he said, "so you remember you're unforgettable." I fell hard, fast. The kind of falling where your friends tease you but you can't stop smiling at your phone. 3 months in, we were officially us. Marcus became part of every weekend. He'd come over on Friday nights and we'd cook together, me chopping vegetables while he stirred sauce and hummed off-key to whatever playlist I had on. We'd watch old black and white movies on my couch, his arm around me, and I'd rest my head on his chest listening to his heartbeat like it was the safest sound in the world. One night, after a particularly long week at work, I came home exhausted. Marcus had let himself in with the spare key I'd given him the week before. He'd lit candles, drawn a bath with my favorite rose-scented bubbles, and had takeout Thai waiting on the table. I walked in and just cried, happy tears. He pulled me into his arms and whispered, "You don't have to carry everything alone anymore, Elena. I've got you." I believed him. God, I believed him with every piece of me. My family adored him. My parents invited him over for Sunday dinners almost immediately. Dad grilled steaks while Marcus helped in the kitchen like he'd always belonged there. Mom pulled me aside one evening while the boys were outside and said, "Honey, he looks at you the way your father looked at me 30 years ago. Don't let this one go." And then there was Bella. My little sister Isabella, only 2 years younger, but we'd always felt more like twins than sisters. We shared a room growing up, stayed up late whispering secrets under the covers with flashlights, traded clothes, finished each other's sentences. She was the wild, artistic one, aspiring actress with big dreams and an even bigger heart. I was the steady older sister, the planner, the one who made sure she remembered to eat when she was deep in rehearsal mode. The day I introduced Marcus to Bella, the three of us went to a little Italian place downtown. She hugged him like he was already family. "Elena S. told me so much about you," she said, grinning. "But she left out the part where you're ridiculously handsome." "Rude, sis." Marcus laughed and pulled me close. "I got lucky. Your sister is the whole package." Bella watched us with this soft, almost wistful smile the rest of the night. Later, when Marcus stepped away to take a work call, she squeezed my hand across the table. "He's perfect for you, Elle. I mean it. The way he looks at you, it's like you're the only person in the room." "I'm so happy for you." We hugged in the parking lot afterward, the three of us under the streetlights, and I felt like my world was finally complete. My best friend and the love of my life, all in one circle. The next year and a half was a blur of beautiful, ordinary moments. Weekends hiking in the hills outside the city, Marcus's hand in mine as we reached the top, and he'd pull me in for a kiss while the wind whipped my hair. Lazy Sunday mornings where we'd stay in bed reading side by side, coffee steaming on the nightstand. The time he surprised me with tickets to a Broadway touring show because I'd mentioned once how much I loved musicals. We danced in the kitchen to our song, "Can't Help Falling in Love," while pasta boiled over and we laughed until we cried. I started imagining our future in vivid color. A house with a backyard big enough for the dog we'd adopt. Kids, maybe two, a boy and a girl, who would grow up knowing they were wanted and loved every single day. I even sketched a nursery once, late at night when Marcus was asleep, hiding the drawing in my sketchbook like a secret wish. And then came the proposal. It was our 2-year anniversary. Marcus had planned everything. He told me we were just going for a casual rooftop dinner at our favorite spot, the one where string lights hung like stars and the city stretched out forever. I wore the little black dress he loved, the one that made him whistle when I came out of the bedroom. We were halfway through dessert when the music changed to our song. The lights dimmed. He stood up, took my hand, and led me to the edge of the rooftop where a single spotlight followed us. "Elena," he said, voice cracking just a little, "from the moment our fingers touched over that book, I knew my life was never going to be the same. You make every ordinary day feel like magic. You challenge me, you inspire me, you love me in a way I didn't know was possible." He dropped to one knee. The ring box opened, a vintage sapphire surrounded by tiny diamonds, exactly what I'd described in a late-night conversation months earlier. "Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life making you as happy as you make me?" I said yes before the tears even started falling. The whole rooftop cheered, strangers clapped. Marcus slipped the ring on my finger and kissed me like the world had stopped spinning. I felt weightless, complete. The next morning I called Bella first thing. She screamed so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. "I'm coming over right now, we're celebrating." "Oh my God, Elena, you're getting married?" She showed up 20 minutes later with champagne and a box of my favorite pastries. We sat on my living room floor in pajamas, crying and laughing while she tried the ring on her own finger and pretended to be me walking down the aisle. "You're going to be the most beautiful bride," she said, eyes shining. "And I'm going to be the best maid of honor the world has ever seen. I already have ideas for the speech. It's going to make everyone cry, happy tears, obviously." We spent the whole day planning. Venue ideas, color palettes, soft blush and sage green with pops of that signature forget-me-not blue. She helped me create a shared Pinterest board titled Elena's Forever. Every time I added something, she'd text me heart emojis and yes, queen. My parents threw us an engagement party 2 weeks later. The backyard was strung with lights, tables full of food, friends and family laughing under the stars. Marcus gave a toast that had my mom dabbing her eyes. Bella stood beside me the whole night, arm linked through mine, whispering jokes that only we understood. "You two are goals," she said at one point, watching Marcus charm my cousins. "I can't wait to see you walk down that aisle. It's going to be perfect." I believed her. I believed all of it. The wedding planning took over our lives in the most wonderful way. We booked the vineyard, rows of grapes glowing gold in the late afternoon sun, exactly the golden hour light I'd always dreamed of. 200 guests. A live string quartet. And the dress, oh, the dress. I spent over 2 years saving for it, custom designed by a small atelier downtown. Ivory silk that fell like water, off-the-shoulder neckline, delicate lace sleeves hand-stitched with hundreds of tiny forget-me-not flowers. The seamstress let me watch the final embroidery. I ran my fingers over the stitches and felt my future stitched right into the fabric. The day it arrived at my apartment, I called Bella immediately. "It's here," I whispered into the phone, almost afraid to say it too loud. "Come over, I need my sister." She was there in 15 minutes, still in her yoga pants from rehearsal. We hung the garment bag in my walk-in closet like it was something holy. Then I tried it on for the first time with just the two of us. Bella zipped me up slowly, her fingers careful on the delicate buttons. When I turned to the full-length mirror, the room went quiet. The silk caught the late afternoon light streaming through the window and glowed. The lace sleeves felt like they were made for my arms. I spun once slowly and the hem whispered around my ankles. Bella's eyes filled with tears. She stepped back, hands over her mouth. "Elena, you look like you walked straight out of a fairy tale," she whispered, voice shaking. "Marcus is going to lose his mind when he sees you. I mean it, this dress, it's you, it's perfect." I caught her reflection in the mirror. There was something in her eyes, a strange little smile, almost like she was memorizing the moment. I told myself it was just emotion. We were both crying now, hugging in front of the mirror while the dress swished between us. We spent the next weeks deep in planning together. Cake tastings where Bella insisted on trying every flavor twice for research. Flower arrangements, she found the exact shade of forget-me-not blue that matched the dress. Seating charts that turned into all-night laugh sessions on my living room floor with takeout Thai and too much wine. She practiced her maid of honor speech in front of me, dramatically clutching a wine glass like a microphone. "To my big sister Elena," she'd say, voice theatrical, "who finally found the man who deserves her and who I'm so lucky to call not just family but my best friend. Marcus, you better treat her like the queen she is or you'll have me to answer to." I'd laugh until my stomach hurt and pull her into a hug. "You're going to kill it, Bella. I couldn't do any of this without you." She'd squeeze me back and whisper, "I'd do anything for you, Elle, anything." I felt so loved, so safe, so completely sure that this was my forever. But what I didn't know that day, what I couldn't possibly have imagined as I stood there in my dream dress with my sister's arms around me, was that the two people I trusted most in the world were already rewriting the ending to my story without me. The dress I loved, the man I loved, the future I'd built in my heart, they were already planning how to take it all for themselves. At first, they were so small they barely registered, like dust motes floating in sunlight that you only notice when the angle is just right. Marcus had always been ambitious, the kind of man who answered emails at dinner and took calls during movies. But 3 months before the wedding, the late nights at the firm became almost nightly. He'd kiss my forehead, murmur something about a merger or a high-stakes client, and slip out the door by 7, his cologne lingering in the hallway like a ghost. I told myself it was temporary. Wedding planning was expensive, and he wanted to give me the life I deserved. That's what he said the night he came home at 1:17 a.m. Smelling faintly of whiskey and something sweeter, jasmine maybe. I was already in bed, scrolling through Pinterest boards of centerpieces, when he crawled in behind me and wrapped an arm around my waist. "Big project," he whispered against my neck, voice husky with exhaustion. "Once it's done, I'm all yours again." "Promise?" I turned in his arms and searched his face in the blue glow of my phone screen. His eyes looked tired, but they still held that familiar warmth. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? This was Marcus, the man who had memorized my coffee order after one date, who had driven 2 hours in pouring rain just to bring me soup when I had the flu, who had cried actual tears when I said yes to his proposal. "Okay," I whispered back, pressing a kiss to his jaw. "Just don't work yourself into the ground." He smiled against my skin. "Never. You're my reason for everything, Elena." The next morning, Bella showed up at my apartment with 2 iced lattes and a paper bag of croissants still warm from the bakery downstairs. She was wearing one of my old college hoodies, the faded gray one with the tiny hole in the sleeve that she refused to let me throw away. Her dark hair was pulled into a messy bun, and her face was bare except for a swipe of lip gloss. She looked exactly like the little sister I'd grown up sharing secrets with under blanket forts. "Emergency sister brunch," she announced, kicking off her sneakers and flopping onto my couch like she owned it. "Marcus is at work again, right? Poor guy. Let's distract you with seating charts and cake flavors until he gets back." We spent the entire Saturday afternoon spread out on the living room floor surrounded by magazines, color swatches. In my laptop, Bella had printed out a massive spreadsheet for the guest list. She was ruthless with it, crossing out distant cousins I barely remembered and adding +1s for friends I hadn't seen since high school. "You need to invite the Thompson twins," she insisted, tapping her pen against her lips. "They threw that epic New Year's party last year. Plus, they always bring good gossip." I laughed, stealing a bite of her croissant. "Since when do you care about gossip?" "Since my big sister is getting married and I get to be the maid of honor who delivers the best speech in history." She struck a dramatic pose, one hand over her heart. "To Elena, who finally found the man who deserves her and who I'm so lucky to call family." Her voice cracked on the last word just a little. I pulled her into a hug, breathing in the familiar scent of her vanilla shampoo mixed with my own detergent from the borrowed hoodie. For a moment, everything felt perfect, the way it had when we were teenagers staying up all night talking about our future weddings, imagining we'd get married on the same day and live next door to each other. But later that evening, after she left, I noticed something small. Her phone had buzzed on the coffee table while she was in the bathroom. I hadn't meant to look, but the screen lit up with a notification. It was a text from Marcus. "Marcus, you left your scarf here. Want me to drop it off?" I frowned. Scarf. Bella hadn't been wearing a scarf, and why would Marcus have it? Before I could overthink it, Bella came back, snatched the phone, and slipped it into her pocket with a casual smile. "Work stuff," she said lightly. "Actors never sleep." She was pursuing acting more seriously lately, auditions, reels, the occasional commercial. I was proud of her. She'd always been the bolder one, the one who could light up a room while I preferred hiding behind my sketchbook. So I let it go, but the little things kept piling up. 2 weeks later, I caught her staring at her phone again while we were tasting cakes at the bakery. Her thumb moved quickly across the screen, typing something, then she smiled, a small, secret smile that didn't reach her eyes when she looked up at me. "Everything okay?" I asked, licking buttercream from my fork. "Perfect," she said too quickly. "Just a callback for that indie film, fingers crossed." She reached over and squeezed my hand. Her fingers were cold. That night Marcus came home even later. I was already asleep when he slid into bed. When I woke at 4 a.m. to use the bathroom, I noticed his phone charging on the nightstand. The screen was face down, but a green light blinked, a new message. Curiosity, or maybe that tiny seed of unease that had been growing, made me pick it up. The passcode was still my birthday. He'd never changed it. The message preview was from Bella. "Bella, can't stop thinking about last night. You make me feel alive." My stomach dropped. I opened the full conversation before I could stop myself. The thread went back months, not daily but consistent. Playful at first, inside jokes, memes, complaints about work. then flirtier. Then intimate photos, one of Bella in a black lace bra taken in what looked like a hotel bathroom. Marcus replying with heart eyes and "You're killing me." I stood there in the dark, barefoot on the cold tile, heart hammering so loud I was sure it would wake him. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. This couldn't be real. This was a nightmare. My sister, my fiancé, the two people I loved most. I scrolled further, 6 months. The messages started right around the time Marcus and I had hit a rough patch. I'd been working 80-hour weeks on a major rebranding project, coming home exhausted and short-tempered. Bella had been there for me then, bringing wine and listening to me vent. Apparently she'd been listening to him too. One message from Marcus stood out. "Marcus, I feel trapped sometimes. Elena's so focused on the wedding and her career. I love her, but with you it's different. Easier. Bella, she'll never understand you the way I do. I've always been here, Marcus, always." I wanted to vomit. Instead, I carefully placed the phone back exactly as I'd found it, walked to the living room, and sat on the couch in the dark until the sun came up. When Marcus woke, he kissed my cheek like nothing was wrong and asked if I wanted coffee. I smiled and said yes. My voice sounded normal. Inside, something had cracked. I didn't confront them. Not yet. Part of me still hoped it was a misunderstanding, a stupid emotional affair that had gone too far but could be fixed. I watched them both over the next few days with new eyes. Bella still came over, still hugged me, still called me big sis in that affectionate way that used to make me melt. Marcus still brought me flowers on random Tuesdays. But now every gesture felt poisoned. One evening, Bella suggested we have a girls' night while Marcus was working late again. She showed up with Thai takeout and a bottle of my favorite Sauvignon Blanc. We sat on the floor eating pad CEO straight from the cartons, laughing about old childhood stories. The time we tried to dye our hair with Kool-Aid and ended up with pink streaks for weeks. The way our mom used to scold us for whispering after lights out. Halfway through the second glass of wine, she looked at me seriously. "You know I'd do anything for you, right, Elena?" I studied her face, the same heart-shaped face as mine, the same dark lashes, the same dimple in her left cheek when she smiled. She looked sincere. Vulnerable even. "I know," I said quietly. She reached over and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear the way she used to when we were kids and I was crying over a boy. "You deserve the world. Marcus is lucky to have you." The words should have warmed me. Instead, they landed like ice in my stomach. 3 weeks before the wedding, I came home early from a client meeting that had been canceled last minute. The apartment was dark except for the soft glow coming from the walk-in closet in the master bedroom. My heart stuttered. I walked down the hallway on silent feet and pushed the door open. The garment bag that held my wedding dress was crumpled on the floor like it had been thrown aside in haste. The dress itself, my beautiful ivory silk creation with the delicate forget-me-not lace sleeves, was gone. The empty hanger swung gently, mocking me. I stood there for a long moment, breath shallow, then called Bella with trembling fingers. She picked up on the second ring, voice bright and cheerful, too bright. "Bella, my dress, it's missing." "Did you move it?" "Oh my gosh, Elena, I'm so sorry." She sounded genuinely apologetic, almost panicked. "I borrowed it for literally 2 hours. There's this amazing photographer doing a bridal editorial for my acting reel. I thought it would be perfect, you know, sister solidarity. The lighting in my apartment is terrible, so I took it to his studio. I'll have it back by morning, promise, cross my heart." I laughed, but it sounded hollow even to my own ears. Relief mixed with that persistent unease. "You scared me half to death, just be careful with it, okay? It's one of a kind." "Of course," she said softly, voice dropping into that tender tone she reserved for me. "I'd never do anything to hurt you, big sis. You know that." I hung up and stared at the empty garment bag. The next morning the dress still wasn't back, and Marcus didn't come home that night. I sat on the couch in my robe, phone in my lap, refreshing messages that never came. At 9:17 a.m. my phone exploded with notifications. Friends tagging me. Coworkers sending shocked emojis and question marks. Then the video started auto-playing on every platform. It was live television. "The show forever starts today. a flashy reality program that specialized in dramatic weddings and surprise proposals. And there, under cascading crystal lights and soft pink spotlights, stood my sister Isabella in my wedding dress. The ivory silk glowed under the studio lights, the forget-me-not lace sleeves catching every beam exactly the way I had imagined for my own day. The waist had been taken in slightly, I could tell even through the screen. It fit her like it had been made for her. Next to her, in a crisp black tuxedo with a white rose boutonniere, was Marcus. The host's voice boomed with theatrical excitement. In a twist no one saw coming, Isabella and Marcus are saying, "I do right here, right now, live on forever starts today." Let's give them a round of applause. The camera zoomed in as they exchanged vows. Marcus's voice cracked the same way it had when he proposed to me under the string lights at our rooftop bar. "Bella, you're the one I've always wanted, the one who truly sees me." Bella turned toward the camera, smiling the same strange little smile I had seen in my mirror the day I tried on the dress. She waved sweetly as if speaking directly to me. "Elena," she said, voice sugar-sweet and laced with something sharper, "if you're watching this, I hope you understand. Some love stories just find their way. I never meant to hurt you, but the heart wants what it wants." They kissed. Long, passionate, the kind of kiss that belonged in movies. The audience cheered. Confetti fell, the screen filled with heart emojis and scrolling comments. "Wait, isn't that her sister's dress? This is insane. Poor Elena." I dropped to my knees on the living room floor. The phone clattered beside me, still playing their vows on loop. My chest heaved, but no sound came out at first. Then a raw, guttural sob tore from my throat. I curled into myself, forehead pressed to the hardwood, feeling like every bone in my body had been shattered. How long had this been happening right under my nose? That night, I learned the truth in jagged, bleeding pieces. My parents arrived within the hour. My mom was sobbing before she even made it through the door. My dad looked 10 years older, his face gray and drawn. They had found out the same way I had through the live broadcast. Bella hadn't told them either. I showed them the messages on Marcus's old iPad that he'd left charging in the kitchen. The thread was extensive, 6 months of deception. Bella telling him I was too focused on my career and didn't appreciate him the way he needed. Marcus admitting he felt trapped but was terrified of looking like the bad guy if he called off the wedding. Photos, dozens of them. Hotel rooms with rumpled sheets. Weekend getaways to cabins upstate while I was at design conferences. Selfies of them laughing in bed, Bella wearing one of Marcus's shirts. The photo shoot had been the final step. Bella had taken the dress, altered it at a small tailor downtown. I later found the receipt in her email and walked down that live TV aisle like it had always been meant for her. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. For days I existed in a fog of pain so physical it felt like someone had reached inside my ribcage and squeezed. I sat on the bathroom floor at 3 a.m., staring at the engagement ring I still couldn't bring myself to remove, turning it slowly on my finger. The vintage sapphire caught the light from the nightlight, mocking me with its beauty, every memory replayed in cruel high definition. The way Bella had zipped me into the dress and whispered that I looked like a fairy tale. The way she had practiced her maid of honor speech in my kitchen, voice thick with emotion. The way she had hugged me after the proposal, whispering, "I'm so happy for you, sis. You deserve this." How long had she been looking at my life, my fiancé, my future, my dress, and quietly deciding she deserved it more? Friends chose sides quickly. Some sent pitying texts that felt like salt in the wound. "I can't believe it, let me know if you need anything." Others simply ghosted, uncomfortable with the mess. 2 major clients emailed to say they were pausing projects because they didn't want personal drama associated with their brands. My inbox filled with strangers commenting on the viral clips, some supportive, many cruel, a few accusing me of faking it for attention. I watched the video on loop for days like some kind of self-inflicted punishment. Each time Bella said my name on camera, something inside me died a little more. On day 16, something shifted. I was standing in the shower, hot water pounding on my back when the tears changed. They weren't just grief anymore. Beneath the sorrow, hot and clear and alive, was anger. pure, righteous anger. I stepped out, wiped the steam from the mirror, and stared at my reflection, red-rimmed eyes, wet hair plastered to my cheeks, skin pale. But I was still standing. Until everything changed, I realized the people I trusted most had tried to erase me, and the only person who could rebuild what they broke was me. I started taking notes, screenshots, timestamps. Bank statements showing hotel charges on Marcus's card, flight confirmations. I reached out to the producer of Forever Starts Today anonymously at first, then more directly. I hired a private investigator, a quiet, efficient woman named Carla who had seen worse betrayals. She dug deeper, recovered deleted messages, found the tailor who altered the dress. Located the original seamstress who confirmed the hidden embroidery inside the bodice that read, Elena and Marcus, forever begins in my own delicate handwriting. Bella had tried to have it removed, but the thread marks were still visible under blacklight. Carla sat across from me in a small cafe 2 weeks later, sliding a thick folder across the table. It's all here, she said gently. Every lie, every hotel, every time they laughed about how Elena would never suspect. I opened the folder with steady hands. Photos, transcripts, timelines. The pain was still there, but now it had direction. By the end of the month, I wasn't crying every day anymore. I was planning. The world they thought they had stolen from me was still mine to reclaim. And I was going to make sure the truth got the same spotlight they had given their lie. The live TV wedding had turned Bella and Marcus into minor celebrities overnight. Their faces were everywhere, tabloid covers, morning show segments, Instagram reels with millions of views. The sisters' fairytale twist became the trending hashtag for weeks. Sponsorship deals rolled in. A luxury skincare brand wanted Bella as their new Bride Glow ambassador. A travel company offered them an all-expenses-paid honeymoon in Bali. And a jewelry line asked Marcus to model their Eternal Commitment collection. They posted carefully curated photos from white sand beaches, Bella in flowing white linen, Marcus shirtless with his arm around her waist. Both of them beaming as if they had just won the lottery of love. Meanwhile, I moved through my days like a shadow. I didn't scream. I didn't show up at their door. I didn't post angry rants or call them crying at 2 a.m. I did something far more dangerous, far more cinematic. I became quiet, methodical, and unstoppable. 3 weeks after their televised I Do, Forever Starts Today announced a primetime Where Are They Now? Follow-up special. Bella and Marcus were booked as the main guests, sitting on the same glossy stage where they had exchanged vows. Promotional clips showed Bella still wearing my altered wedding dress in some of the montages because, as she told an interviewer with a shy laugh, it's become our signature now. It brought us together. I watched every teaser with a calm I hadn't felt in weeks. The anger had crystallized into something sharper, a blade of purpose. I sent the producer everything. Every screenshot, every recovered text message, every hotel receipt and flight confirmation Carla, the private investigator, had unearthed. A carefully edited 10-minute video of me telling my side of the story, calm, composed, no tears, just clear-eyed truth, intercut with the exact moments they had lied to my face in my own home. And the final, devastating piece, high-resolution photos of the original dress, receipt in my name, time-stamped and signed. Plus forensic close-ups of the hidden embroidery inside the bodice that read, Elena and Marcus, forever begins in my own delicate handwriting. The seamstress had confirmed under oath that Bella had asked her to fix a small imperfection 2 days before the show. The producer, a man named Richard with a voice like gravel and a reputation for loving drama, called me personally at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Elena, he said, not bothering with pleasantries, this is television gold, raw, heartbreaking, and legally airtight. But are you sure you want to go public like this? Once we air it, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. I stood barefoot in my living room, the same spot where I had first seen their wedding, and looked at the empty garment bag still lying folded on the coffee table like a wound that refused to close. I'm not going public for attention, I said evenly. I'm making sure the truth gets the same spotlight they gave their lie. They stole my dress, my fiancé, my trust, and my future on live television. The world deserves to see how that story really ends. He was quiet for a moment. Then, we'll protect your identity until the moment it airs if you want. But once it drops, it's going to be nuclear. Good, I replied. Let it burn. The night of the special arrived. I sat on the same couch where I had collapsed the morning of their wedding. This time I wasn't alone. My best friend from college, Sarah, was beside me with a bottle of red wine and a box of tissues she promised not to use on me. My parents had offered to come, but I asked them to stay home. This was something I needed to watch by myself first. The show opened with the usual glossy recap, highlights of Bella and Marcus's whirlwind romance, clips of their live vows. Fan comments calling them soulmates against all odds. Bella appeared in a new custom white gown, simpler than mine but still bridal, her hair styled in soft waves, makeup flawless. Marcus sat beside her in a tailored navy suit, holding her hand tightly, both of them smiling with the practiced ease of people who had spent weeks rehearsing their narrative. The host, a polished woman named Vanessa, leaned forward with feigned warmth. So tell us, Bella, what has life been like since that magical day? Bella laughed lightly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Surreal, we've been overwhelmed by all the love and support. It's been a dream come true, Marcus nodded, squeezing her hand. We know it was unconventional, but when you find the person who completes you, you can't let fear stop you. Elena, if she's watching, I hope she finds peace. We never wanted to hurt anyone. The audience murmured sympathetically. A few people clapped. I took a slow sip of wine, my hands perfectly steady. Then Vanessa's earpiece buzzed. Her professional smile faltered for half a second. We actually have some breaking information that we feel the audience deserves to see. This is highly unusual, but we believe in transparency. The giant screens behind them split. My video began to play. There I was, filmed in my own living room against a simple white wall, wearing a plain black sweater, hair pulled back, eyes clear and steady. No makeup to hide the exhaustion, no filters. Just truth. My name is Elena, I began, voice calm. 4 years ago I met Marcus, 1 year ago he proposed. 3 weeks ago my sister Isabella wore the wedding dress I designed and saved for over 2 years and married him on live television. This is what really happened. The footage cut between my narration and the evidence, time-stamped texts where Bella called me too career-obsessed, messages where Marcus admitted feeling trapped. Photos of them in hotel rooms, the original dress receipt, and finally the close-up of the hidden embroidery, Elena and Marcus, forever begins, with the seamstress's sworn statement. The studio audience gasped audibly. Bella's perfect smile froze mid-laugh. Marcus went deathly pale, his hand slipping from hers. The camera caught every micro-expression, the way Bella's eyes widened in panic, the way Marcus's throat worked as he swallowed hard. My voice continued, steady as steel. They didn't just fall in love, they planned this. They stole my dress, altered it, and used the most public platform possible to humiliate me while pretending it was fate. I'm not here for pity. I'm here because no one should get to rewrite someone else's life and call it romance. The screen returned to the live studio. Chaos. Bella tried to speak, her voice cracking. It's not, we never meant to, Elena. If you're watching, this is all taken out of context. Vanessa cut in gently but firmly. We have the documents, the messages, the dress itself was examined. The embroidery is still visible. This isn't a love story, this is theft and betrayal. Marcus looked like he might be sick. He opened his mouth, closed it, then managed a weak, "We were going to tell her, it just happened." The comments section on the live stream exploded. Hashtags began trending within minutes. Dress theft, sister betrayal, Elena deserved better, justice for Elena. The audience in the studio shifted from sympathetic applause to stunned silence and then to murmurs of disapproval. The network cut to commercial, but the damage was irreparable. By morning, sponsors had dropped them. Bella's acting agent released a terse statement terminating their relationship. Marcus's law firm placed him on indefinite leave pending an internal review. Their carefully built fairytale house of cards collapsed in real time and the whole world watched it burn. I didn't gloat, I didn't call them. I simply turned off the television, poured myself another glass of wine, and sat in the quiet for a long time. Sarah hugged me tight. "You did it," she whispered. "You took your power back." For the first time in months, I smiled, small, tired, but real. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of noise I mostly ignored. Bella tried to reach out. First came a long, tearful voicemail. "Elena, please, this is all so messed up. We made mistakes, but we're still sisters. Sisterhood means forgiveness. I love you. Call me." I listened once, then deleted it. Next came handwritten letters slipped under my door, flowers with apology cards, even a basket of my favorite pastries from the cafe where Marcus and I had first met. I donated the flowers and pastries to a women's shelter. My parents chose me quietly, painfully, but unequivocally. They told Bella they needed space. My father, a man of few words, simply said, "We raised you both better than this." My mother cried with me on the phone more than once, but she never asked me to forgive. Friends who had ghosted me slowly trickled back with awkward apologies. Some clients returned, others didn't. I didn't chase any of them, instead I focused on rebuilding. I packed up everything that still carried their scent: Marcus's spare toothbrush, the hoodie Bella had left behind, the photo albums from our double dates. I donated most of it. The engagement ring I sold to a reputable jeweler and used the money to pay Carla's final invoice and put a deposit on a small studio space downtown. 2 months after the special aired, I officially launched my own design studio, Forget Me Not Designs. The branding was simple, elegant, and deeply personal. A soft navy logo with delicate forget-me-not flowers woven into the lettering. My first collection was a bridal line inspired by second chances, resilience, and the beauty that comes after breaking. The signature piece, an ivory silk gown off the shoulder with delicate lace sleeves, but this time bold crimson threads were woven through the hem and bodice in intricate, intentional patterns. Not hidden, celebrated. A visible reminder that even after everything is ripped away, you can still choose to add your own color. The launch event was small but intentional, held in the new studio with fairy lights, local flowers, and a playlist that included none of the songs from my original wedding. Women came. Some were brides-to-be, others were women rebuilding after their own heartbreaks. One woman in her 40s pulled me aside, tears in her eyes. "I saw your story," she said quietly. "I went through something similar. Your dresses, they make me feel strong again." That night I cried, not from pain but from something softer. Hope maybe, or pride. I met someone new eventually. His name was Julian. He was a quiet architect who rented the office space next door. We met when he accidentally knocked over a box of fabric samples I was carrying into the studio. Instead of awkward apologies, he helped me pick everything up, then asked if I wanted coffee as repayment. No fireworks, no grand gestures, just steady kindness and easy conversation. He didn't know my full story at first. When I finally told him, months into dating, he listened without interrupting, then simply said, "That sounds incredibly painful. I'm sorry they did that to you. But I'm really glad you're here now." He looked at me like I was enough exactly as I was, scars, rebuilt dreams, and all. One evening, sitting on the rooftop of my new apartment building, I had moved out of the old place. Julian reached over and laced his fingers through mine. "You know," he said softly, watching the city lights, "you never talk about revenge anymore, not the loud kind." I smiled, leaning my head against his shoulder. Because I realized the strongest revenge isn't loud or cruel. It's waking up one day and realizing you're no longer the woman they tried to erase. It's building a life they couldn't touch even if they wanted to. Months later, I sat on that same couch, now in a new living room with new art on the walls and plants thriving in the sunlight, watching the city sparkle beyond the windows. The same lights I once thought I'd share with Marcus, this time the view felt entirely mine. I finally understood, deep in my bones, that sometimes the people who break you are the ones who force you to become who you were always meant to be. The dress they stole was never the point. My light was, and no one, not even the people I had loved most, got to keep it. If you're watching this or reading this and someone has shattered your world, I see you. I was you. The pain is real. The nights that feel endless are real, but so is the quiet strength that grows underneath. Keep breathing, keep creating, keep choosing your own color. The dress they stole was only fabric and thread. Your story, your worth, your future, those are yours to design. And you can make them more beautiful than anything they could ever imagine. Thank you for sitting with me through the hardest chapter of my life. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs it. And remember, sometimes the strongest revenge is simply living, thriving, and never letting anyone steal your light again. Because in the end, the light was never theirs to take. It was always yours.